So, Alan, I suppose there's a lot of parents that would come up and ask me an awful lot of questions through the year regarding finance, which I wouldn't be in a position to answer. So I have a few of them here for you, including one or two from myself. So
Okay.
my first question there for you. So in your opinion, Alan, having a child with additional needs or any additional needs, how would that aspects affect the family financially?
I suppose the big huge thing that parents never seem to kind of realize, which is very kind of tough on parents of children with special needs, is oftentimes you find that at least one of the parents reduces their hour or not becomes maybe even the full-time carer. And that whole salary is missing from that couple's finances for many years. And you could imagine, that might be, say, 15, 20, or maybe even 30,000 a year that's not coming in. And over 10 years, 15, 20, that's an awful lot of money. And then subsequently, then what that actually ends up doing is putting a lot of pressure on that family from a financial aspect. So I suppose that's the one thing that I've noticed all throughout the years, unless one parent is on a substantial income, finances are always going to be an issue on that whole area. And then, of course, parents might think, well, there are those things like means test entitlements, but sometimes those means are so incredibly tight to get access to. And parents oftentimes are just beyond the borderline of it. And they're neither, they're caught between two stools. So I suppose that's the huge thing. And the other thing I suppose parents never realize as well is then when they come to retirement, obviously it's so busy caring, it's only then it hits them. There's probably going to be 3 people living off a pension, and there's only probably one going to be able to contribute because the second parent, as I said, might end up that full-time carer. So again, on the backside of all that side of it, then there's another whammy at the end. So unfortunately, so again, I suppose that's why we're out there trying to help parents, trying to give them advice and trying to get them, just to see what's happening out there.
Yeah, I suppose people's children, they just think of the therapies and what can be done now. And I suppose also parents that I've spoken to who have children with additional needs, they do struggle from month to month, to stay out of those expensive overdrafts. And, then an unforeseen bill or medical costs can occur. And would you have any help there for parents, Alan?
Yeah, it's a very tough one. As you said, that one unforeseen bill, as I said, and all of a sudden people are struggling, and it's a tough, it's not only a stressful, say, maybe on dealing with like going to the GP or whatever, the therapy or whatever. Next thing you have to get bank statements in. Next thing you're trying to deal with the financial things, and your head is not in the space to clearly think. So I suppose my kind of main advice for parents is to try automate as much as they can. So what I mean by that is, when your wages come in, sit down and just start paying those bills that need to go out there and then. So very early in the month, you realize what's left over for the month, and you have much better kind of handle on what's actually happening. And of course, then set up those kind of standing orders into other accounts if possible. What I'm saying there, set up a couple of different saving accounts for things that that you might be doing that other parents mightn't have. Like you might have a specific account for your child, knowing that you have to pay for, therapies or medical expenses going on. And that's quite good to keep separate because it makes it easier when you're doing your Med 1 forms as well. But it's always good to have that all separate. But you also might set up a college kind of bank account. You might set up something for the kids or emergency fund. So it's a separate thing so that, quite early on, you have money kind of holding or saving in the background. So when things and events come along, then you're hopefully in a much better financial position for that.
Yeah, it's so hard for parents to do, but as you said, it's like a New Year's resolution to make that all the time, isn't it? And stick with it. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah, and as I was saying, then just get it started, just get it in place, and then start analysing, looking at, see is it working, if it's not, then come back, And I suppose the other thing then I'd want to mention as well is the likes of kind of like your bank account. You need to be monitoring your bank account on a regular basis. So at least once a month, sit down, both of you sit down, husband and wife, sit down, look at the finances, see where you are, add it up, how much came in, how much went out, what's realistic, what's going to happen next month, what's happening the month after type stuff. So you're both in the same kind of boat that you understand where things are. And I very much encourage you to do it together, this kind of way, as opposed to one parent doing it. Because oftentimes, Loris, you'd have one parent overseeing it, and what happens then, they go to the other parent. It's almost like a lecture. Next thing we're kind of arguing. We're not arguing. We're trying to sort things out from a financial perspective. So very much, sitting down together and saying, right, let's judge this, see what's happening, and hopefully kind of try better manage the finances going forward.
Yeah, and as you said, it does work better. It's just sometimes sitting down and having that chat to see where the money is going, because everyone benefits in the end, really.
Yeah, and there's lots of things out there now as well, Doris. There's lots of apps out there. There's a lot of things to speed this up. You can be putting these things in, to kind of online calculators and all that to get all these kind of facts and figures out. Now, technology is great. Now, technology has its downfalls. And what I mean by that, of course, in the technology now, it's so easy to tap and pay. Do you know what I mean? Tap and pay. And
I do, Alan. Yes, I do know how to do that. Yes.
But it is, it's so easy to tap and pay, and off you go. And if you don't look at the bill for a month, and might be 3 months down the road before you look at your bank statement and realize how much is going out and that's it. So it has its downfall, but also has its positives then, as I said, with the technology and the ability to quickly analyze and see. And as I said, the different banks offer different things. So again, go into your bank, see what they have, and see will it help you, see will it assist you. But be careful. I'm very wary of banks, very wary of any institutions. They're there to make money. So hopefully they have these apps, but you have to, as I said, be very, very cautious yourselves anyway.
Okay, so that's a good tip there now, really, Alan. Another question that some parents say to me is if they had a lump sum of money, or if a parent or grandparent left money specifically, maybe just for anything or just in general, is it a good idea to put that away in a lump sum for a year or two?
There's two answers to there's two ways I would always, when parents would say that to me, I'd first of all, you have to see then if they have credit card debts, if they have personal loans, car loans, all these things, you're better off clearing those types of debts than taking out a lump sum and putting a lump sum away. And the reason behind that is if you put a lump sum away with the banks or anything, you'd get very little return, a percentage, 1 or 2. There's dirt tax, everything's involved in it. But on the other side, the bank who giving you the loan are making 10%, or credit cards can be making up 25, 30%. So what I would say, first of all, is if you have debts and stuff, focusing on that, getting zeroed in on that, clearing that, reducing the pressure on yourselves. That's what I would recommend. Now, if a parent was in a very good position and said, look, Alan, actually, do you know what? We've got a grip on all that side of it. It's extra money. What will we do? I would actually say don't go to the banks, don't go to the financial advisors and go into these products and stuff. I just don't like the risk element. I don't like the dirt tax element and all that side. So what I would say is maybe, put away a little nest egg for yourselves, have a bit of safety net. And I would recommend you, which is what I done personally, is went to An Post. They do 3, 5 or 10-year bonds. And they're the type of products that are nice and safe, secure. There's no exit tax, which means that when you get interest, you keep it, that side of it. So that's what my recommendation would be for those types of parents out there.
Okay, so that's a good tip as well there now. And Alan, how could parents then keep this in check regularly, or how?
I suppose like where we talked about, it's just that thing. It's just analyzing. It's just making sure you have a system in place, automate things and have a system in place so that you're looking at these things on a regular basis, you're analyzing it, and you're coming up. And the other thing you have to do as well is predict what's happening going forward. You might say, right, actually my child is in operation in 6 months time, knowing then you might have to go on carer's benefit or you might have to stop work for some period of time. So again, trying to build up some cushions coming up to these things, and these events coming up. So certainly, and what you find, it gets easier after year 1, you can look at all your figures from year 1. When you're going into year 2, you have a very good estimate of what's going to happen on your personal finances, or whether you need to make some major, adjustments, or whether life's good and you can plan your holidays, you can, plan for things to go forward and obviously for life to keep going as normal.
Okay, so Alan, in your expertise now, if you have a child with additional needs, and it could even be an intellectual need, would you suggest that child still have their own bank account, or what would you suggest there, Alan?
Your child needs to have their own banking facility. We all need banking facilities. We all need our bank account, standing order, direct debit. Even if your child's an intellectual, they still need all those facilities. Okay. Now, of course, we talk in other kind of podcasts and other areas about the special needs bank account. Go onto our website if you haven't already done, look up that now, but it's so important to have their own special needs bank account. They have their own account going forward. And it's so important, particularly from the age 16 onwards, because disability allowance has to be paid into the child's name. So therefore you want an account set up at that stage. So I'd be very, recommending all parents to get that set up for their children. And as I said, another suggestion might be as well, you have to, when the child's young, you might have that specific account, or you could set up a separate account yourself and maybe call it the therapy account or something along that lines, and just encourage other family, friends. I've seen it with parents, they often encourage other people to contribute into that account. So rather than at Christmas or birthdays, the child for their birthday getting a toy that when the parents get, they know it's useless. It's just, maybe the child has sensory needs and this toy would just not be suitable. obviously the person buying it was trying to do it in goodwill.
Exactly.
Again, they might just say, look, why don't you actually just put like 50 euros or 20 euros into that account, and we'll pay for, you know, speech therapy, OT. And again, that kind of thing as well, encouraging those types of, you know, friends, families, you know, to contribute to that kind of account would be great as well going forward.
Yeah, I think that's hard for parents to ask. But then if
Yeah,
you see somebody getting a toy that you know the child can't use, or even a voucher for a place that you actually can't get access to, which has happened to myself, it's so lovely that somebody would give something, say, into an account, and then later on you can even say thank you or send them a photograph of the benefits
yeah,
that it has been. I think people need to see that as well, so that they know exactly where the money has gone to. And people
exactly.
are, and as you said, Alan, as well, people are kind and people are good and people want
People
to
would
help
love to give to their niece or nephew or wherever if they know
if they
it's, you
know.
know, that's kind of, and that's and you'd feel better doing that rather than, as you said, stressing about getting something that's just totally inappropriate, you know, that kind
Yeah,
of way. So
and people do want to help, but I think sometimes it's up to us as parents to be able to ask. You know, that's
yeah,
quite hard to do, to even asking for help.
exactly.
Quite hard to do. So yeah, that's a good thing to take on board. But Alan, you know, what should parents do if they actually can't manage?
I suppose if you're kind of, you know, analyzing the accounts and you're doing your utmost best and you're cutting things down to the basics and it's just not working, it's just not working. Unfortunately, there is a good percentage. COVID's had a massive impact. The last recession has. Do you know what I mean? And then, as I said, times can be tough for a lot of families out there. And my first thing, you just got to get professional advice, you know. And the first thing I would recommend parents would do is the MABs, the Money Advice Bureau. You can go to them and get some kind of, you know, free independent advice. Now, it seems to be hit and miss from my perspective. When I meet parents, sometimes parents say they were fantastic, others just didn't really get any value. So I would suggest your first up is get that free independent advice. You know, it's a government type agency. Sit down with them, see can they help you, you know, get, you know, yourselves into a better financial positions. Because it does worry me, Doris, I have to say, the better parents do financially, the more that's left when they pass away, the more that goes into these trusts. And these trusts obviously can make a world of a difference. So really, it's so important that if you are struggling in that area, you know, we keep talking about Letter Wishes Hospital, getting all these things. Another piece of the puzzle is certainly your personal finances and trying to get in on top of all that area. So in the future, you have a much more secure financial future for all the family. And as I said, then hopefully more money to be passed on through the trust for your child as well.
And do you think it's harder, Alan, for parents of children with additional needs to do all this?
Oh, it's, you've no years, the couple of years I spent before I got into the special needs area and the last 10 or 12 years, it's night and day when you meet parents, you know, that kind of way. And the worries that some parents would have when I look back at it like 15 years ago, it's neither here or there when you see the issues in parents, children with special needs. And as I said initially, it's a tough position, you know, from a financial perspective. It's not an impossible position, you know, this kind of way. Make sure you're checking your entitlements, your grants. Get on to us if you're not too sure. Look at the videos online there we have, you know, make sure you're getting everything that you're entitled to. And as I said, then just get those systems in place, get money moving away, put away for the future, you know, and that's again, you know, and clearing those personal loans, getting all that, getting on top of that as quick as you can.
And I think it's such a shock to parents maybe at the time with their child, that they're so interested in getting um, child intervention straight away. And you're looking at therapies and you're looking at this and you're looking at that and you're wondering what you can do better to make the child maybe cognitive skills, occupational therapy, physio, hydro, that sometimes you just think you forget about the money aspect and the financial side of it, because maybe some parents are only living day to day with their child and that. And I do think now, looking back, being an older parent, that even if I had given myself that 5% of that time to do these plans and
Would you
put
think so? Because I
things
think
away.
my
Yeah.
question to you would be like, if I met you back when Dave was born, obviously there's a priority as well. Do you know what I mean? There is a priority to get just so much on your table. Do you know, the kind of way, do you know, my question to you then, would you think then, or would you say I could allocate it 3% of my time and then, you know, yeah, 2 years later, I could add a 10% of my time to look at it?
I would love to say no, I couldn't. No, I would love to say that, because David was my be all and end all, you know, and that's all I thought about, is getting him healthier, better, um, everything together to try and make him as best he could be, and aims to have him as independent he could be, and to get to preschool, to get to school. That was all I thought about, really. But in hindsight, and I wanted the best clothes for him and the best everything for him and everything like you would. But I know, looking back, I have to say there is a few areas with finance that I could have improved on. But the one thing I'll say in my advantage was I didn't know you then. So I didn't know all these things
Yes, we
then.
didn't meet 3 years later. And
Yeah,
thank God we didn't meet.
and I know also that's not my good quality. It's not something I was ever good at.
Yeah, but you'd find parents lads, and some parents it's just naturally good with dealing with money, good at always, and always had everything clear, never have credit card debt or anything, do you know, this kind of way, and always manage everything. And but then obviously I meet other parents, and it's just very hard for them. And again, there's some parents, I know it's an awful thing to say, you just shouldn't have credit cards. You're not able to manage. It's just a kind of catch in a loop that you get caught into, and then you take out these credit cards. The insurance companies are the credit banks behind it. They're as evil could be. They're sending you this money knowing that you're going to struggle to pay, knowing that you'll pay the minimum balance, and they know they'll make a fortune off you. They're all getting their bonuses and all that, and you're probably working on a Monday just to try to clear, and you don't even realize it because you're just trying to keep yourself on top of it. And as you said, then you get another unforeseen bill off that goes as well. So really, you know, if you're struggling that whole area, I suppose my final message is just to take action, sit down as a couple, you know, and just look at it and see what you can do and just take some type of action. Because obviously once you start taking action, we can start to solve things and use the likes of ourselves, use the likes of MABS as information. Anybody that can give you guidance or information outside, please do reach out and do get help.
Thank you, Alan, for that and for your time. I think we've all learned a little bit more about it, and we can all take a little more positive steps. And I would have been one of those people that you spoke about with credit cards, and had to take a scissors to the credit card and say goodbye. Hopefully there's people like me out there as well. I'm not on my own. But I have taken on your advice, Alan. And again, thank you for your time today.